Manus Augustus, holder of tribunician power, consul for the third time, Pontifex Maximus. He had been emperor for less than a year, and the words still sent a tremor through his heart. He saw the image in the centre and grunted. It showed a heavy-set, balding man, advanced in years, with jutting chin and hooked nose, deep creases around his eyes and mouth and lines on his forehead. It was not a pretty sight, but his was a grunt of satisfaction. He had ordered his portrait deliberately made in the old fashion of the Roman Republic, warts and all, in contrast to his reviled predecessor Nero, whose effeminate Greek-style images were being torn down and erased all over the empire. Vespasian was tough, gritty, honourable, a man close to the earth, a Roman of the old ways. He flipped the coin over and held it high, so the first rays of the sun behind him glinted off the silver. In the centre was a bowed, weeping woman, her hair done up in the Eastern fashion. Beside her was a Roman legionary standard, identical to those that lined the sacred way today. Below her was the word he had ordered put on all his coins, the word that made this day his crowning triumph. Iudaea, Judea captured. At that moment the crowd, hushed by the flight of the eagles, erupted in a huge crescendo of noise. The insistent drumbeat which had been coming up from the Circus Maximus suddenly became a thudding boom. Through the arch emerged an enormous African elephant, its trunk swaying from side to side almost to the hands of the spectators who were reaching out to touch it. Astride the elephant sat two immense Nubian slaves, their heavily muscled arms beating in unison on drums slung to either side. Immediately behind came the 6 Vestal virgins, their hair in braids and their white robes shimmering as if they were emissaries from heaven itself. Then came a cohort of the Praetorian Guard, resplendent in their black breastplates and plumed helmets, giants among men recruited from the finest warriors across the Roman Empire. Then the first in a long procession of men and boys, senators and equestrians and members of Vespasian's own family, all dressed in purple togas interwoven with gold. Between them, at close intervals, came wagons piled high with fabulous riches, some resting on biers and pedestals, and others held aloft by slaves from all corners of the empire. Vespasian watched as the wagons trundled by, each new wonder bringing a gasp of awe from the crowd. There were magnificent statues of gods in gilt bronze, sumptuous royal treasures from the kingdoms of the East, wild-haired slaves wearing heavy gold neck-talks from Gaul and Germany, mounds of emeralds and diamonds from beyond the Indus, shimmering silk tapestries from the far-off land called Thena. All the wonders that men had previously travelled the world to see were here today in this one place, this eternal city. Only Vespasian knew that many of these treasures were being seen for the last time. Beside him on the podium was a thin sheet of marble prepared by his architects, its surface etched with an intricate city plan dominated by a huge elliptical structure. As the last of the wagons rolled past, Vespasian glanced beyond the procession to Nero's golden house, the wreathed head of Nero's monstrous colossus just visible over the tops of the temples. On that site, Vespasian would build a vast amphitheatre, the biggest the city had ever seen, the first of many projects he had planned to give the spoils of conquest to the people of Rome. Next marched a garish procession of dwarves and deformities, freaks the gods had created for their own amusement, culled from all over the empire. Some were carried high on silver platters like pigs to a feast, children with bulbous heads and others with shriveled limbs and elephantine growths. There was even one screaming monster with a single eye in its forehead, a cyclops in the making. Following them was a manic, chattering dwarf driving a 4-horse chariot, an imperial quadriga, only this one was pulled by haltered goats. The dwarf was attired as a Greek god, with an absurdly oversized golden wig, and bore a placard with the words Damnatio Memoriae, of damned memory. It was a grotesque parody of the hated Nero. Vespasian slapped his thighs and guffawed along with the crowd. He was a man of the people. This was not just a triumph, it was entertainment on an epic scale, and the best was yet to come. There was a gap in the procession.